All right, we got to get to the Edmonton Oilers because it has been struggle city of late since December 3rd. 2-9-2. Yikes. The numbers are not pretty. And for a team that's got two of the best players in the world, 2.38 goals per game. Not what we're used to from the Edmonton Oilers when they are rolling, but they are not right now. Ken Holland addressed the media today. Here's some of what he had to say.
I'm not, to tell you the honest truth, I believe we have a good team. I obviously built the team. Whatever happens is on me. Play the kids, 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 play the kids. Then when the kids make mistakes, we don't like the kids, we don't like the kids, we don't like the kids, get different kids, and the kids go elsewhere and they have success that you thought they were going to have here. I'd rather wait a little bit too long than move too soon. But I think we're going to start to win. I believe in the coach. I believe in the team. I believe in the leadership of the team. I believe in their determination. I think that we've found lots of ways, not found, but the other team has won games here and we haven't, and that's pro sports, and if we can win a couple of games and get our swagger back a little bit and feel good about ourselves and start to ride the wave. I think right now it's going downhill in the wrong direction, and we've got to turn this thing around. So I believe we're gonna get going here. I believe in second chances. You know, it's hard to be perfect. We're all people. We all make mistakes. Some make big mistakes. Some make little mistakes. But learn from it and try to change. And should be entitled to a second opportunity once they do some of those things. I'd say to you as a manager, it's my responsibility to investigate every situation. Talk to managers. So I have talked to Dan.
All right, we're going to get to Evander Kane, I promise. But the first question I want to ask you guys is about the state of the Oilers. Because what I'm gathering from what Ken Holland had to say today is that he's preaching patience and he's preaching confidence in the group to turn it around. Do you agree with him?
Yeah, I think they need some kind of stability there in Edmonton. We talked about last week when it became like, oh, maybe they should change coaches, right? I mean, well, I started went through the list, right? I mean, they had McClellan, they had Hitchcock, now they have Tippett. Those are some pretty good coaches. Dallas Eakins was there. He's on the Anaheim route right, doing a nice job there. I mean, they've had a lot of coaches. They've had a number of managers. They've had players come in and out of there. Sometimes you just have to have some continuity in your group, some belief in the guys that are there, and build that culture within your team. And Kenny knows it from being in Detroit for so long. He was blessed there with just a number of great players. He's got a couple in Edmonton, but he's trying to piece it together. And there's challenges cap-wise now. There's challenges in terms of getting people to come to Edmonton. So I think that, to me, listening to the tenor of his voice, was someone that was trying to rally his group and send a message in that room. And also, he understands that in Canadian markets, there's always something every day. It's like we've seen in Vancouver, right? It's when it's not working, it's beat the drum, beat the drum, beat the drum. It's raining out, it's dark out, it's cloudy, it's storming, and it's just...
The negativity is always the loudest.
It has to impact the group in that room, and I think what he's trying to do is kind of deflect that and try to take away from that if he can to the best of his ability. But it's not easy, Weeksy. You've been in those rooms and in certain places where, I mean, that's life and death for everybody in town, and it's a lot of times it's death more than life.
So true. That is so true. And listen, I couldn't agree with you more. I've got a lot of family up in that part of the world, in Alberta specifically. And I got to tell you, yes, the passion is great, as it is in Vancouver or anywhere else. But the fact of the matter is, what I like about what Kenny Holland did today, and there's a few things, but what I do like about it is he was able to be a voice of reason and a voice of perspective and a voice of calm.
Yeah.
And he deflected a lot, to your point. He did a great job of protecting and insulating the coaching staff. He did a great job of insulating the players, while at the same time still holding them accountable and still saying that, hey, I watched that in its entirety. He said, we got off to an amazing start. We had the best points percentage in the league. Early December, we were first in the league. And then the wheels started coming off, and we've had this trend. So they asked him, where do you land on this team? He goes, it's hard for me to fully evaluate them for that very reason. We've had basically two polar opposite ends of the season. But I love the way he handled that. He showed a lot of veteran poise. He showed a lot of class. And this is why a lot of players, going back to his time in Detroit, of course, like playing for Kenny. I spoke to Chris Osgood, who was great in Detroit. We all know his amazing career that he had. I spoke to Ozzy about this about a month ago at length. And he was just talking about all that he was able to bring in terms of stability to Detroit And you need to have some of that now in Edmonton. And as your point, especially in Canadian markets where things can get so volatile and everybody says they're one pass away from playing in the NHL. And I was one pass away from coaching in the NHL.
One injury, that might be injury.
Put me in on the power play.
Everybody
Put me
knows.
in net. You're not that good.
Yeah.
He's not that good. Like,
I'd do it for nothing.
I'd do it for nothing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Well,
like that.
I
can't have that. You can't. And I love his ability to just calm that and temper that.
And I did like his comments about the kids, because it's true. It's like you can't win. It's like when things are, when you're not playing the kids, like play them, then you play them and you don't allow them the room or the space for the growth, which anyone who's ever tried to accomplish anything worthwhile in their life has had growing pains. So that's going to happen with young players. But I see what you guys are saying.
It takes ability too, right? Like, if you want to have sustainability, you need to create stability. Yeah. Like, it's hard to have this that's sustainable, and if you don't build up and fortify your AHL program, your prospect pool, and everything else, and if you don't allow them the time to mature the way they did in Detroit, then it's tough to have that consistency year after year. So you need to have those foundational things in place, and he's doing a really good job of being patient in spite of the naysayers right now. I got to give him credit where that's concerned. But I will say this, coming into the year, I thought there was room to improve in the net, of course, because there are other goalies that were available. Let's be honest, there are other goalies that were available. And if you look at their club, I've been hearing about Stuart Skinner since he first went to the WHL. Super talented, big man, big goalie. All these guys are big goalies, and he's come in and played pretty well. He's been really good at the AHL level in Bakersfield. But
I think it's time to play.
He's going to get some games now. He's going to get some games now, and I think he should. I really think he should. You know, because if you look at the build of the club, if you start in net, okay, is it 1, 2, or 3? On the back end, you have Darnell Nurse, who's an number 1 D-man, one of the top D in the league. Then you go up front, obviously, you've got Leon and Connor. Those are 3 amazing pieces, but in the net, you don't have somebody that's kind of growing with them the way Tampa had Vasilevsky grow with that group. Winnipeg had Hellebuck come in as a young guy and grow with that group. So I think it's an opportunity for Skinner here.
All right, we'll see if he gets it. Obviously, we got to touch on Evander Kane. You heard Ken Holland was asked about Evander Kane. He said, he feels like it's his job to investigate anything and said he believes in second chances. The thing is, I think we're past the second chance for Evander Kane. Kevin, what are you hearing on the Evander Kane front? Because I don't think the Oilers are the only team that is at least exploring this option.
You're right. There are other teams, and I would say this, as I said on Twitter earlier, and we talked about this in our pre-show meeting that you fans would have heard, there are a good number of teams that are contenders.
It'd be something if they could hear that.
Right, exactly. Right? But, TMZ style. You know the way they talk about TMZ.
I'll leak it out.
Where the guy's drinking, he's always drinking his Coke or whatever.
The next one
Exactly. But I would say, from speaking to people that are close to the situation, there are a number of teams that are playoff teams, a lot of teams that are top 4 in both conferences that are really exploring this. They're doing their due diligence, and in that process, they're speaking to people internally. They're speaking to players in their group that may have played with him, either at the NHL level and or at international level for Team Canada. They're speaking to assistant coaches. They're trying to really call as much information as they can to make a critical decision on him in terms of, is he somebody that they bring into their group? Everybody knows, number one, he's a free agent. So this is a bit of a
free player.
This is a free player.
There's nothing you have to give up to get him.
We talked about this during our showcase game.
That's important to remember.
Totally, because there's no asset going out the door in order to get him. Plus, it'll be a prorated deal. Could it be up to $2 million, $1.5 million? Perhaps. But I do know there are a lot of teams that are knocking on the door that are interested. And I'll say this, and this is not to absolve him of any of his challenges. We wish the best for every player. We want to see every single player, every person in the business be in a good spot in their personal and professional lives. Some of these things that have happened for him and to him are of his own doing, of course. And we also have other situations where we've seen this with almost every player that has stubbed their toe or that's had some adversity each. It's not unique to him is what I'm saying. Not to absolve him of anything by any stretch. But these aren't unique to him alone. So there's a market for him, and that market's pretty hot right now.
Well, as long as Evander Kane can be a productive player on the ice, teams will take a look at him. That's pro sports. We just saw it play out in the NFL with Antonio Brown. And that whole saga that's gone on for a couple of years now in different places around the National Football League. And now we're seeing it play out with Evander Kane right now. I know in San Jose things are so bad there. Those players did not want him back in the room. I mean, think about that statement. The players did not want him back.
And what do we know about the NHL? It is not often that you see players speak out publicly in a
Yeah.
negative way about each other. They are very loyal to the group,
and to
so
the
that is
code,
unique.
kind of.
The code. Yeah.
Yes, a little bit internally there. You're absolutely right, and that has only happened in a couple of cases that I can remember covering this game over many, many years. So that is something to keep in mind. I think the key word that Kenny Holland mentioned is it's his job to investigate, which means find out as many of the details as you can, what's going on, exactly the truth of what went on, what were the relationships with players in San Jose and maybe in other places in the past, what exactly is going on in his personal life right now, what exactly happened in San Jose, and that means talking to the player and the representative, but also talking to the people in San Jose and getting the other side and trying to piece it all together. For me, and I'll just end with this, we talked about it in the meeting. I think we're going to find out a lot about Evander Kane because I think he's going to sign somewhere. Totally. I mean, there's interest, and again, in pro sports, if you can play, somebody will probably have you for at least a little while. It's a low risk in terms of it's a low dollar amount, potentially high reward for your team. If he does anything, you throw him off, and he's done. I'll learn a lot from Evander Kane on what he decides to do here, because if Evander Kane is smart, he finds the place that can support him the best, the room that can support him the best, the coaching staff that can support him the best, the ownership group that can support him the best, and go in and try to be that really good hockey player that we all know he can be, and then try to be something that's really more important, and you know about this, being a good teammate.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. If you just take whatever is going to give you the most money and you go somewhere, it may be a washout. But if you pick a good spot, and you get your life back in order, you got a chance to turn things around. But he's had these opportunities before, and it hasn't worked. Remember, Joe Thornton picking him up at the airport.
Thornton picked him up in the Range Rover.
Been him for a bit.
But see, this is part of the thing, too, though, in San Jose. All of a sudden, Jumbo's gone. All of a sudden, Joe Pavelski's gone.
Yeah.
All of a
Different
sudden,
room.
Pete DeBoer's gone.
Different room.
And Pete and those guys played with them and had him on Team Canada at World Championships. And they rallied for Doug Wilson to trade for him.
Yeah.
So right from the beginning, they're like, hey, listen, we got you.
Yeah.
Don't make us look stupid.
Yeah.
We got you. Don't embarrass us because we're going to bat for you.
Yeah.
And if you recall, he lived at Jumbo Joe Thornton in his wife's house when he first got there. So they were no longer there. Of course, Burnsy's still there. Logan Couture's still there. But without Pavelski and Joe Thornton and Pete, it's different. And it's a different time. It's a younger room. And by the way, I played with Bob Bugner, their head coach, in the American League and at the NHL level. And I think he does an outstanding job. Boogie knows that. But they've moved on from him now. And I think a team, for example, Tampa, we talked about this, as you're just saying.
That'd be the one for me.
Right?
If they're interested, that's where I'd want to go if they were interested.
Tampa, one of those teams. Florida, Carolina, my man Rod Brindamore.
Yeah, another guy, right?
He'll be in there, and you'll hear the weights clinking. He'll be in there. You won't be able to fool him.
No, he's no nonsense, Roddy.
No
Roddy
nonsense,
B.
my man Roddy B, coach of the year.
I would say this to add to the whole investigating, Evander side of things, what's true, what's not, all that. I think it would also be worth going into your own room and seeing how they feel about it as part of that as well.
Of course. Are we moving on or not yet?
Yes, if that's okay. Listen.
Don't be corporate. Where are we going? Let me qualify this too, which is very important too, and especially for our viewers. And we've been around the game a long time. One thing I like that Kenny mentioned too, and you mentioned the second chances, which I think is really important. Some might qualify this as second, fourth, fifth, who knows, wherever you are in that. But, however, Kenny has always done that. Lou Lamoriello's always done that. Jim Rutherford has always done that. These are Hall of Fame GMs. Yeah. And they've had players that have had different infractions and different things along the way. Life things, hockey things, suspensions, you name it, legal stuff, addiction challenges, and they've found a way to integrate those players. Going back to the Edmonton Oilers of the 80s have done that with Glenn Sather. So I'm curious to see where this goes going forward.
All right, we shall see. But it seems pretty clear there's numerous teams right now investigating.
Yeah.
We have many. Ken, you preach stability, obviously, as a general manager. Things are not going very well with your hockey team. Do you believe in firing coaches? You've never fired a coach in midseason. And does he deserve even to be looked at by fans?
Jim, I don't know if believe is the right word. No, I haven't fired a coach mid-season. I don't believe in it, I guess. But it doesn't. I also understand that there are times when possibly it needs to be done or it should be done?
In terms of signing or trading for a player, have you ever gone out and got a reclamation project and said it'll work on our team? And how strong does the leadership group need to be to go out and get a player who is, say, a reclamation project?
Yeah, I mean, I can't, I've been a manager for a long time, so I think the answer is yes. I think you're talking about a player that hasn't worked out somewhere else. I don't
Yes.
word reclamation project because these are, so when a situation doesn't work out somewhere else to give someone another opportunity, yes. Do I believe in it? Yes.
And how disappointed are you with where the Oilers are right now?
Well, very. I think if you look at the season on December, we were looking yesterday, December the 2nd, we were first overall in the National Hockey League. What's today, January 10th or 11th? So a lot's happened in 6 weeks. We were 16-5, and then we've gone 2-9-2 in the last. So the first 21 games, we were first overall in points percentage, and then the last 13, 2-9-2. I think we have the second worst record in the National Hockey League over that 13 game span. So it's we've gone from one extreme to another extreme. So I'm not, to tell you the honest truth, I believe we have a good team. I obviously built the team. Whatever happens is on me. I think, again, I'm not really sure where we're at because it's been two extremes have been so far apart. And I think that in the 16-5, our special teams were a major factor. We were probably near the top of the lead, it was extremely good. And now in the last 13 games, I think we're 18% in the power play, and I think we're 68% in the penalty kill. So, if your combined totals, power play and penalty kill, if it adds up to say 105 to 110, you're right near the top of the league, and we were probably 140-ish, the first 15 games, which is unsustainable. And now, it's 68 plus 18. It's 86. So it's got to be probably near the bottom of the league. So I think that, that would be one example of what's happened here the last 13 games. But again, I'm not sure where we're at because we've been in such extremes. The first 21 games versus the last 13 that I'm not sure where we're at, but I believe we have a good team, but it's been too extreme, so it's been hard for me to really get an understanding of where we're at.
Thank you.
Ken, when you were in Detroit, Dan Cleary got an opportunity, and Dan had talked about he had some drinking problems, and he cleared that up. Zach Cassian here in Edmonton went through the rehabilitation program of the NHL, and it worked out for him, and he's been a lot better of a person first. You talked about people. If you're going to have a conversation with Evander Kane, would it focus more about making him a better person first? The player on the ice is good. It seems to be that he's got some issues more person-wise that don't have to do with on-ice hockey.
I think, Jason, it would be, first let's get an understanding, of everything that's gone on in that person's life, or not their whole life, but get an understanding of what's going on, and then trying to, it's like I said to Jim. I guess the answer to your question, I believe in second chances. It's hard to be perfect. We're all people. We all make mistakes. Some make big mistakes. Some make little mistakes. But it's hard to be perfect. And I think if somebody makes a decision or does something in their life and they make a mistake, I think they have to, try to, learn from it and try to change and should be entitled to a second opportunity once they do some of those things.
When you look now, go to your team, and you mentioned the two extremes. The one area, goals against 5-on-5, has been an issue for the club for a long time. Obviously, Mike Smith's injury derailed the team a bit, but your goaltending, you've got a young guy in Stuart Skinner who played here. He had a .916 save percentage. He's been down in the minors playing great. If you can't make a trade, do you have to try to solve internally? And does Stuart Skinner a guy that you're looking at giving more of an opportunity?
I think first off, if we're just talking about the goaltending, we got to get Smitty. I'm going to go back 3 years. When I became manager here, I, as the manager, made a decision to sign Mike Smith. Obviously, Dave Tippett, the coach, had a relationship with him. And I thought in the 19-20 season, when we had, 72 points or 74 points with 10 games to go, that our goaltending played, the way it was built. I think early on, Tip went 2 games for Smitty, 2 games for Koski, and they rotated. And I think they basically played half the games, thereabouts, over the 72 games. And when Koski went, kind of slipped a little bit, Smitty carried the load, and vice versa. But it was a good tandem. And then, last year, in a 56-game schedule, Smitty got hurt, and we had to overplay Koski for the first. I think he played 10 of the first 11 the first 12, and then Smitty came back, and Smitty carried the bulk of the load. I think he played 35 of the last 46. But the schedule was last year. It was a different schedule. We'd go play 2 road games in Winnipeg, and we'd fly in the day before, and you'd play a game, and you'd have an off day. So it was an easier schedule. Now it's a more difficult schedule. I don't think he can. I say most goalies it's hard to play 35 out of 46 with an NHL the way it is today. We get into game 3, and going into this season, that was our thought. It's going to be Smitty and Koski. We're going to ride the 2, and one's going to get hot for a little bit, and the other one's going to slip. But they'll probably play a similar amount of games, and whenever somebody gets on a roll, we'll go with them. Game 3, Smitty got hurt. We thought it was nagging at the time, and so we ran out Koski for a lot. There was still an unknown about Stu Skinner, and I'm going back to October. So there was we wanted to get off to a good start, and then we played Koski a lot. We kept thinking that Smitty was on the horizon, but it was a nagging injury, and it kept nagging at him and kept nagging at him and kept nagging at him. We eventually worked Stu Skinner into the mix, and I thought that Koski and Stu Skinner did a really good job in in that 16-5. I mean, other than 2 games, they were the guys in net for 16-5. And then I think that over the last 13 games, we've just sort of come derailed. We haven't played good enough defensively. I think everybody's got to play better. I mean, probably our goaltending, our team play, our special teams. We've got some individuals I believe can play better over the last 13 games. So, Smitty's back now, after Christmas. I think we're going to come out. We obviously we play 1 game here in 2 weeks. It's against Ottawa on Saturday. We're going to have some practice time here Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, play a game, and then practice next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I think we got to get back to Smitty and Koski. But saying all that, Stu Skinner's in a good spot. He's playing every night down there in Bakersfield. I've been watching every night, every game on the computer. He's playing real well. We know what he can do here. I think he's an NHL goalie in the waiting or making, however you want to do it. But I think he's in a good place right now that he's playing lots. Let's get going here and see how we get going after this break.
Okay, so how long, though, can you wait? If you have a young goalie who's playing well and you're not getting the goaltending you want, is it 2 games? Is it 4? How long before you have to make that change?
Jason, here's what, as the manager, I think it's my job to protect people, okay? To make sure that they are ready. Play the kids, 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 play the kids. Then when the kids make mistakes, we don't like the kids, we don't like the kids, we don't like the kids, get different kids, and the kids go elsewhere, and they have success that you thought they were going to have here. I'd rather wait a little bit too long than move too soon. I think that. So now, how long can I wait? I'm going to watch. I'm going to evaluate. We got 48 games to go. I understand we got to hit the ground running. Now that I can't judge 1 game. You can't just, if you lose a game, all of a sudden start to make. I got to watch some games. I can't put a number on it, but I got to watch some games. I got to see how we play. I got to see how everything goes. But I think everybody in that room understands that we've got 48 games to go, and we've got to hit the ground running here and start to put something together ASAP as soon as we get going.
Hi, Ken, over here.
Your philosophy on not replacing a coach in mid-season, is that, what do you base that on? Is it just too disruptive or too easy, or you just haven't had occasion or reason to pass?
Here's how I analyze it, Rob. I hired Tip. In my mind, we made the playoffs the last 2 years. The year before we got here, I think the team was 28th in the league in points. Under Tip's leadership in year one, we were in second place in the division. The pandemic hit. We lost the play-in series against Chicago, but if there was no pandemic, we were making the playoffs. Last year we were second in the North. We lost 3 games in overtime against Winnipeg, and certainly we got swept. But we've been in the playoffs 2 years in a row. On December the 2nd, we were first place in the National Hockey League overall. We've had a bad 5 weeks. There's been 7 coaches here in 10 years. You can't just keep whipping through coaches. You can't. At some point in time, I think the team plays hard. Our last game was against Toronto. It's, you look at the record. I look at, I break it down. Against Toronto, it's 2-2 with 7 minutes to go. We take a penalty, they score, and they thought it was a pretty even game. And we lose in overtime in the island, and we were up by a goal in Jersey, and they tie it late, and they beat us in overtime. And we're 2-2 late in the second period in St. Louis. And the games, I think Boston, we're 2-2 with something with 3 minutes to go, and we lose a face-off in our zone, and Boston scores a goal. So it's 2-1 with 3 minutes to go against Carolina in the third period. I think it's 2-1 with 5 minutes to go in the third period against the LA Kings. We're not getting. We've given up the first goal, I think, 20 out of 24, 21 out of 25 games. So it feels like the last 6 weeks we've been sort of chasing the game. But even falling behind, even with the special teams, we seem to find a way to play our way back into the game. So I feel that we've got a team that's competitive. They're competing. We're just not winning. And I understand we're in pro hockey and we're judged on wins and losses, and we haven't won enough. But I believe that the coaching staff the team is playing hard. They're competing every night. We've got a bit of a break here, and I hopefully talk to Tip and talk to a few of the players, make a couple tweaks, get people out of COVID, get our team back, and let's see how we can do. But I think if you look at Tip's run as coach here, it's been a bad 5 weeks, or December 2nd to it's 5.5 weeks. It's been a bad 13 games. It's been a disappointing 13 games. But the other 2 years and the disappointing playoff series against Winnipeg, disappointing play-in, I guess that was a funny thing in the middle of July or the middle of August. I think that was a funny thing. But so I think it's been a tough 5 weeks.
Having said that, is there a wins and losses tipping point, or is Tippett going to coach it?
We're going to start to win. Can't tell you for certain, but I think we're going to start to win. I believe in the coach. I believe in the team. I believe in the leadership of the team. I believe in their determination. I think that we've found lots of ways, not found, but the other team has won games here and we haven't, and that's pro sports. And if we can win a couple of games and get our swagger back a little bit and feel good about ourselves and start to ride the wave. I think right now it's going downhill in the wrong direction, and we've got to turn this thing around. So I believe we're gonna get going here.
Hi, Ken.
Yeah.
Whether it's goaltending or another position, if you do need to look externally for guys that will help, what's your sense of a trade market right now, and how has it been affected by the fact that a lot of teams like you maybe have had gaps in the schedule, not played a bunch?
Well, Reed, I've talked to a few managers the last week. You cover the league. I mean, how many trades of consequence have gone on in this league since October, since the season started? Not many. I mean, there's been the odd trade, but and there's other teams struggling besides us. We're not the only team struggling. I mean, so I think the reality is the solution has to be in either in that locker room or somebody from Bakersfield. I am working the phones, but for right now today, I think that the solution has to be in that locker room. And again, it's like I said, the team was first overall on December the 2nd. Now we have the second worst team in the league the last 13 games. So I don't know where we are. We're better than what we've been playing. I believe that, and I don't know that there's any. I could go out and make some big trade to kind of turn the things around. But I am talking to teams.
All right, and I know you got asked a couple of questions about players getting second chances, so I'll just ask about the specific player here.
Yeah.
What's your level of interest in Evander Kane?
Well, I've talked to his agent. I know his agent's Dan Milstein. I know Dan very well because he was Pavel Datsuk's agent. I had lots of dealings with Dan Milstein. So I have talked to Dan Milstein, his agent. You know, I would say to you as a manager, it's my responsibility to, investigate every situation. Talk to managers. So I have talked to Dan.
Ken, just back here.
Yeah.
You've since you've come, you've really wanted to improve the depth of this team, and especially in the bottom couple of lines. But without McDavid and Draisaitl on the ice, this team is getting outscored 2-1. What do you think is the solution there? Why has this happened this year? Excuse me.
Well, I think, Daniel, part of it is we got to keep the puck out of our net better. I don't know where we are in goals against. Are we 25th or something? So, I'm going to reflect back on my time in Detroit. And, in 92, 93, 94, we scored lots. We gave up too much. And then in the playoffs, we couldn't score, and we were out in the first round. So I think that we've got to get a little bit more offense out of the bottom part of our roster. But I also think that we've got to buckle down and keep the puck out of our net a little bit more. So I think it's a combination of the two. I don't think it's just we got to get more secondary scoring. I think that we've got people in that locker room that can score more than what they've scored to this point in time. And I also think that, I think our defense, I think we've played better defensively the last while. And that's, to Rob, that's why I believe we're going to get this thing going and turned in the other direction because of the way we're playing. I think that we're going to get it turned. But can we get a little bit more offense out of the after Connor and Leon? Probably everybody can. They've some have gone good and then they've gone dry, and other guys haven't really got it going. Some people haven't scored. But I think that there's more goals in there. But I also think that we have to can't be 25th or I don't know the exact. I didn't look the last day or two. But we're in the bottom third of the league in goals against. Certainly, we know we've got to do a better job of keeping the puck out of our net.
And given where Connor and Leon are in their careers and the types of seasons that they are having, they're right in the primes of their careers. Do you have to be all in? Can you afford to not be all in at the as you head?
Well, I think we're all in, Daniel. I mean, we're at the cap. We're actually probably over the cap. I signed Ryan Nugent-Hopkins to a long-term deal. In the off season. I signed Zach Hyman to a long-term deal. We signed Cody Ceci. I brought in Fogle for Ethan Bear. We're trying to be all in. I'm trying to be all in. I'm not sure where you're going with that question.
Just in the terms of, are there any prospects or picks or assets that wouldn't be on the table? Is everything on the table?
Right now, nobody's on. None of those. Why would I? Are you talking a rental, or are you talking to make a trade and to trade our top prospects for a rental to try to bail out of this year? Or are you trying to
for help this year? For help this year.
I wouldn't do that. I think the answer's in that locker room. Why would I trade a first-round pick or one of our top prospects to have somebody give us a little bit of a boost, and then next year we have a press conference and you're asking me about more secondary scoring again, or more depth? The depth has to be built internally. The depth of this organization has to be the growth the growth of McLeod, the growth of Yamamoto, the growth of Bouchard, the growth of Broberg, the growth of Skinner, the growth of Carter Savoy, the growth of Borgo, the growth of Petrov. That's how we did it in Detroit. And when I look around, that's how the best teams do it. It's homegrown. It's young people. It's being patient. It's we came here, signed Jay Woodcroft. Woody's done a great job in developing players down there. I think that's how you got to get better. It's got to be. Now, I understand Connor's 25 and Leon's 26. And would I trade something if it's a hockey trade and it's you bring in somebody and he's here for this year and beyond? That's a different story. But if your question is to me just to trade some grade A prospect to give a little bit of a boost and a bump so we can have another press conference next week, and then that guy goes on and flourishes in another organization somewhere else for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years. And we're back to the market next year because that person we got leaves. I'm not doing that. Does that answer your question? Okay, thank you.